Good evening, this is Matthew Craig. I'm going to be doing the video number 2 for Project Management Basics. Let's jump right into it. So this video and like the PowerPoint, we're both kind of covering the overview, I guess, of project management, whereas the previous video kind of just covered Jira stuff. But as far as like task management goes, we're going to be using the Jira software. To manage our code, we're going to be using GitHub. To manage anything that's kind of not code or management software, we're going to be using Google Drive essentially to store stuff in there. And then at the very end, there's some dedicated code standards that we're going to want to follow. So kind of jumping into it, for Agile, for kind of how Agile works is we're going to start with an epic, which is kind of like what we want to do essentially. We're going to break that up into stories. And a story is like a user signs into the app. A user clicks on a button that spits out some data or something. So stories are small, specific, and it like essentially like a user doing something with an app. We're going to break those stories into tasks to figure out what exactly we need to do to get that story up and running. And then finally, we're going to assign the tasks to the people, and then we're going to start doing them essentially. There is a task workflow that's recommended. So you have to first create a task, and then basically once a task is created, you're going to be defaulted to the to-do setting. And then once you actually start work on that, you're going to change it to in progress. And then once the initial code is done in a branch, you're going to say feature done. Basically what's going to let your team know is that there's code in the branch they can see for that task. If they want to go find it, it's findable. And then so that's probably going to go in a testing branch for that. And then once it's in that testing branch, you're going to say in testing. Once it's tested and it's fine, it's going to get merged into production. And then after that, it's pretty much good to go. Kind of jumping a bit more into how the actual branch structure works. You said prod here. I like either master or main. I typically use main, so like prod kind of threw me off a little bit, but I get it's the production branch. So you have your main branch is being called prod here, or the production, and then you have the staging branch, which is essentially you compile everything into your staging branch. If that works and the app works essentially, that's when it goes to your main. You don't want to push anything to prod that isn't going to work, because that is what your customers are going to see and what your users are going to see, so you don't want to send out broken code to your users. When you do test things, it's going to go into a testing branch, and the testing branch has 2 sub branches. It's going to have like, well, I guess as many as you need, but feature 1 and feature 2. So let's say I'm like trying to fix or trying to work on like a login feature. So I throw that into testing 1, and then I get it working kinda, then I add another update, then another update, and another update, which is kind of just how Git goes. And then at the end you're like, okay, this works, so I'll merge it back into testing. And then let's say I have feature 2, it's like the login screen for the actual the login feature. Then like I'll do that for feature 2, I'll work on the screen and make sure that the UI elements work, and then I'll merge that back into testing, and then maybe I need to pull that later to work on the actual login screen itself, to merge that back into testing, and then that can go into staging for pre-release, it gets tested thoroughly, and then finally thrown back into prod. And then that's just kind of how the basic branch structure is going to operate. You mentioned something about shotgun branching, which I think is funny, where you just kind of have one main and then everything is thrown in there, but we're going to try to keep to the branching style because we had issues last semester with that. Anyway, yeah, so you're going to push to GitHub with simple pushes and pulls, and then commits and stuff, just your typical. I'm not going to cover that because that's just standard Git stuff. You mentioned some coding standards, so a lot of these I was doing already. The opening braces going on the same line is important because it looks prettier and it saves you lines of code. There's a couple variable styles. I think mostly we're going to be using camel and snake case from what I saw. For file names for C++, we're going to use snake case. For variable naming, you're going to use Pascal case. For variables methods, we're going to use camel case, and then constant uppercase snake case. I need to actually print these out and keep them handy because it would be nice to have on my wall. Flutter and Dart file names are always done with snake case, lowercase snake case. I don't know if I have to specify that. And then variable naming is going to be the Pascal case, and then camel case for variables and methods, and then constants are always going to be uppercase snake case. Node.js, I have no experience at all. Node.js, so I'm not really going to cover that. Although I might have to touch it in this class, we'll see. But I'm pretty sure Node.js is more for like web applications, which I don't think we're going to be building. And then finally Python, we might use Python, but it's probably good to know anyways. File names are snake case, classes are going to be Pascal case, variables and methods are snake case, and then finally constraints are going to be the uppercase snake case. So that's pretty much the entire video in the PowerPoint. Thanks for watching.